Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live episode. Trying to run a smooth show here. Now we're getting a little low internet signal here, so we'll keep an eye on that and we'll see if it doesn't improve. Make sure that we still keep up with you guys here tonight. So welcome to the show. We're going to say hi to everybody in the chat box in a minute. In tonight's show, we're going to talk about the importance of planning for your homestead in the upcoming year and what a big difference that can make for you, for your family, for everybody involved in your homesteading endeavors, and the difference we've seen in our homesteading endeavors on years where we really planned as best as we could. So thanks for joining us. We're going to keep a close eye on our streaming here. We're getting a low output warning, so if we're having any issues in the chat box, just let me know, and we'll jump on top of that and make sure that things are running smoothly. So hello to Ethan and Julie from the southeast corner of Iowa. We have Faye in Manchester, thick and fluffy. Shiken says hey. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for joining us. So last week, we released a episode of our podcast. For those of you who follow us over on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you get your podcasts, if you download the podcast there, we also put them up on YouTube. We released an episode of the podcast called What Happened This Year. And it was just essentially our yearly update episode. Usually every year about this time, Kay and I sit down and we talk about our year, we talk about what happened, and we update you guys on what's going on the farm. A lot of our podcast covers other people's stories and what goes on in other people's farms, but we like to keep our podcast listeners up to date on the goings on here at our homestead. And a lot of you guys on YouTube get to follow throughout the year the goings on, but some of the fans who only listen to the podcast don't get to hear all that. So we sat down and we talked about what happened this year, and we talked about how last year, around the same time, we had done an episode of the podcast that was a very unpopular episode of the podcast, as in not a lot of people liked that episode. Because on that episode of the podcast, we announced that we were taking a break from homesteading. Some of you may have been watching our channel back then, may have been following us. You might remember this fateful episode. We talked about selling our farm in that episode. We had the idea that we were going to sell the farm, we were going to hit the road and go on a cross-country trip, and on that cross-country trip maybe look for a new place to eventually start a new homestead. But we talked about how we were pretty burned out and we needed a break. We had a really bad year. And a lot of the audience didn't like that episode. People were angry. People had been watching us all these years, growing our homestead, growing our channel, encouraging so many people to get involved in this life. And now we were going and quitting. And so, believe it or not, we had some negative comments on YouTube. I know you're shocked. And we had a lot of people unsubscribe from the show, unsubscribe from the channel. But after all that, we got to look kind of foolish because we went and didn't do any of that. We didn't go on a cross-country road trip. We didn't sell our farm. We stayed put. And not only did we not leave our homestead or even take a break, we kind of did the opposite. We went and had one of the, if not probably the biggest year on our homestead that we've ever had. We put in a new orchard. We put in a couple new acres of pasture. We cleared the trees. We planted the pasture mix. We did all the work for that. We put a new road into our barn. We put a concrete floor in the barn. And then when the spring was here, we got 6 pigs. We got about 75 meat chickens. We got ducks. We got turkeys. We got guineas. And, of course, you've been following us. You know we got 2 cows. Not just 1, but 2. So what happened? Why did we go from wanting to quit it all to starting back, back at the top, doing more than we ever had? We just got a super chat from Ben Newman. We'll answer that question in a second, but first we want to thank Ben. Ben Newman says, liked your podcast this week before that was good. This week before that was good. Not sure what you're saying there, Ben. Liked your podcast this week before that was good. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I am thanking you for that super chat, Ben. Tonight's super chats, by the way, guys, I'm splitting with my son. He's running the sound today. He's saving up to buy a Lego Boost. And all the super chats I'm going to split with this guy running my sound here. So Ben just gave you a super chat, bud. What do you say?
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. And he says a good episode. Okay, that clarifies. Thanks, Ben. It was a good episode. It was fun sitting down talking with Kay about our year. But tonight we're not going to cover what we did this year. We're going to cover why did we not leave it all behind? What was different? So what was different, right? Why did we not quit it all? If we look back at that time period, if I look back and say, all right, why did we feel like we wanted to leave? When I look back and I think about what happened that year, I realize we were pretty burned out. Sometimes you have bad years homesteading. Sometimes you put a lot of work and a lot of effort into your homestead, and things break, plans fail, animals die. I was doing the research for this episode, kind of looking back through our Instagram feed just to see what happened in the year. That was 2016. And the very first week of that year, I posted this on Instagram. You'll see in the post next to me, it says, bad first week of the new year at the farm. Hopefully it's uphill from here. We lost our new goat Daisy. So this was a new goat. We had just purchased her. We spent a lot of money buying Daisy and her two other goats. We got them. Not only did we buy the goats, but then, we paid to have them delivered to the farm. So that was a big investment. They were really nice line of Nubian dairy goats, which I was really excited about. And so here are brand new goats we were really excited to have on the farm. And boom, week number 1, Daisy dies. Just awful start to the year. We wanted it to go uphill from there, but it didn't. And we will talk about what else negative happened that year. But first I have to thank Errol Flynn for another super chat. That's it's the high five there, buddy. Oh, we just got another $10 super chat from Errol. And I never know if I'm pronouncing that right, Errol. I've corresponded with you a lot in email, but you don't hear the name in email. So let me know if I'm messing up your name there. So that's another $10 super chat. Thank you so much. And for you guys who've just joined us, I'm splitting it with my son tonight. He's saving up for a Lego set. And so I'm giving him a job here. So thank you so much, guys, for your support. It is huge. We can't do this show without you guys. So we were hoping for our season to improve. We were hoping to have a better year, but literally the following week, we lost another animal. I didn't even post it on Instagram. I was too depressed to even, talk about that thing. But we wound up losing later on in the season. We lost a ram to worms. We'd never had an issue with worms before, but so we lost more animals than we ever had. The pigs got sick. Fortunately, we didn't lose any of our pigs, but it was just a really hard season. A lot of things went wrong, and it was, one of those years where you put a lot of effort into it, and you just don't see the results on the other side. And by the time harvest season had come around, we'd lost our dairy animals. We wound up selling the other ones because it was just year after year trying out for this goat dairy thing. And it just was one bad day to the next. Just things weren't working out. We had lost the ram. We were going to, breed the sheep on the farm, but the ram died because of worms. And that happened really quickly. So by the end of that year, a cross-country road trip seemed like the answer. It seemed like, you know what? Let's leave it all behind. It is literally the complete opposite thing of homesteading. Homesteading is you find a place and you put roots down. Cross-country road trip, you got no animals, there's no land, you're transient, you can go wherever you want. Tomorrow you're going to be here, the next day you're going to be there. So it it seemed like the answer. It's the farthest thing from homesteading, and we thought we needed that. But that transient life is a life without roots, and it turns out we're people who like to put roots down. We just can't help it. That's why homesteading appeals so much to us. Homesteading is like investing in your future. The harder you work at your homestead, generally speaking, in the future, there will be more results on the other side. Now, it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you do lose things. But think about it. You plant one kernel of corn, right? You take that one corn kernel, you put that in the ground, and what do you get after you plant that corn kernel? Well, you get hundreds and hundreds of more corn seeds. And that is what homesteading is all about. Taking that one seed, putting it in the ground, and then seeing more results on the other side. And so, of course, homesteading, it called us back. It's a long game, homesteading. Sometimes it's a long, hard game. But year after year, if you keep with it and you work hard, you will have more in the end of the season than what you started with. The beginning of this year, we jumped back in. A couple months went by. We realized how much we loved our lifestyle, how much we loved what we were doing, and we couldn't not continue. So we jumped back in. We just got a huge super chat from Core Nutrition. Thanks from Core Nutrition. I got a feeling that's a big help for the Lego set somebody's saving up for here. Grandma's watching. Nene just gave you a super chat, buddy. $100.
That's awesome.
Thank you. So we jumped back in big time, and we spent the better half of the winter and springtime working really hard on this homestead, and we got some huge projects done. You're excited?
Yeah.
Grandma just made his day. So we Ben Newman says Core Nutrition makes it rain. So at the end of our winter, we had put a lot of work into the infrastructure, and then it was time to bring on the animals. And like we said before, we got tons of pigs, tons of chickens, tons of cows. It was a really busy year. And the best part about it is at the end of this year, when it's all said and done, here we are. If you listen to the podcast where me and Kay sat and talked, not wanting to quit. We're excited for our next year. Now, we're looking forward to a little bit of a break during the winter time, but next spring, we're ready to go back at it. We're ready to work hard on our homestead and make more progress. So I was trying to think, what's the difference? Why in 2016 did we feel like just ending, finishing, leaving this homestead behind? And then in 2016, we wanted to leave. In 2017, we're ending here feeling great about ourselves, feeling great about our homestead, great about the year that we've had. Well, when I looked back and I could think, what did we do different the year previous to this year? One thing that I could really pinpoint was that last year, having come through that hard time, thinking we wanted to quit, going into the next season, we did some really, really good planning. We wanted to have a better year. We didn't want to have the mistakes that we'd made and the animal loss that we dealt with. And so we took some time throughout the long, cold winter months, and we planned. We talked about, first, what we actually wanted from the homestead. We were realistic with what we could accomplish, and then we made clear plans on how to do that. So let's break those down, because that's what all of us should be doing. It's December, January, February. We're going to have some cold, snowy months, depending on where we live. And we want to make sure that we all have a really good year next year. So let's do those 3 steps, right? The first one is think about what you actually want from your homestead. A lot of us start homesteading and we get into things that we've never done before. Maybe we plant a garden, and maybe we plant a bunch of tomato plants, right? Because that's what you grow in a garden, right? You grow tomatoes. But what if you don't really like to eat tomatoes? I myself don't really like to eat tomatoes. I like a farm fresh, garden fresh tomato, but it's not my favorite, my favorite thing. So think about what you actually want to get from your homestead, because if you do a lot of work taking care of tomato plants and pulling off bugs and checking them for rot, and then at the end of the season you're like, oh, I got all these tomatoes. Think I don't really want them. Maybe I'll give them to my friends. It doesn't give you the same win. It doesn't give you the same good feeling at the end of the year because you don't really love tomatoes. So think about what you do like. Do you like, having a beer more than eating a tomato? Then maybe instead this next year, look into brewing beer. Do you like eating, delicious bacon more than a tomato? Then maybe you raise a pig. So think about what you actually want from your homestead. Now, the second step is to be realistic about what you can accomplish. Now, we would all love to be self-sufficient and have, all our meat and all our veggies and all our produce and everything right there from the farm. But let's be realistic here. We can't do it all. We don't have enough time to do it all. We don't have enough energy to do it all. So after you think and list all the things you really want, then be realistic. Well, maybe you love farm fresh bacon, but if you live in an apartment, you probably can't raise a pig. So maybe instead you learn to cure bacon. You buy a whole slab of bacon and you cure it yourself. Be realistic about what you can accomplish. You'll only be frustrated if you try to do too much. The third step is make clear plans on how to accomplish those goals. So we think about everything we want to do, then we cross off the list the things that we can't, the things that are left, we put step by step. What is our exact goal? Identify each step towards succeeding to that point, and then make dates. We were big on this last year with the barn project we worked on. We needed to prep for the concrete pour. We needed to get gravel. We needed to flatten the gravel out. We needed to put the concrete rebar in. All those step. And that way we would be able to accomplish that goal in the end. So make dates for those steps. Draw plans. We did a really cool video last year. You can see that video in our search the feed, search draw to scale plans drawn to scale, something like that. And you'll see the picture. The thumbnail looks something like this. But what we did, we took a big whiteboard and we drew all our plans. And it's cool because if you see, this is our Instagram post. If you guys aren't following us on Instagram, by the way, go ahead and follow Homesteady Show. So there in the picture, you can see we were drawing all the things. We had to put a road in. We had to put a concrete floor in the barn. And so one of our friends was watching this Instagram post. And she said, let's see, I spy cow, exclamation point. So that was supposed to be a little bit of a secret, but we let that one slip. And then another fan, Jay Lee, wrote, is this squash hollow? You have 2017 plans? So they had heard that we were going to hit the road and be all done. And then they saw we were making plans. So anyway, that video there showed you how to draw your plans out if you want to draw your homestead to size, and make good plans, something that you can hang up and look at. And throughout most of the year, that big whiteboard plan was hanging right at the side of my desk here, so we could keep making progress and keep watching for it. So guys, make sure to do that. Make sure to make your plans now. Take this winter, enjoy some quiet time by the fire. Think about what you really want to get off your homestead. It's not a victory if you got, 100 tomato plants full of tomatoes and you don't like tomatoes. So think about what you actually want to grow and harvest. Then be reasonable. You can't do it all. So if you want to have tomatoes and bacon and, firewood, look at how much time you have to spend, figure out which one of those things is the best one, and maybe pick just one or two for the season. And then make yourself clear step-by-step plans on how to get there. And the reason you want to go through all this now is throughout your next season, you'll be more reasonable. You won't take on too many things, and you'll be ready when your cow shows up, or the calf shows up, or the cows and milk. All the infrastructure will be there. You won't have animals escaping, getting into poisonous plants, killing themselves, having a worm overload because you didn't have big enough pastures for the animals. All the problems that we faced in 2016, most of those problems were our own fault for not planning ahead well enough. You learn by making mistakes. It's part of the homestead life. But the better you plan, the less mistakes you'll make, the less chance you're going to wind up burning out and saying, oh, I want to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to take a road trip and get away from my farm. So here's your Homesteady homework for the weekend, guys. Just that first step. Make a list of all the things you actually want to get from your homestead. And if your homestead is just a little apartment, whatever it is, what are you saying, bud? Clear it. If you want to, whatever it is, wherever you're at, make reasonable plans. But make your list this weekend of the things you actually want. And then leave them in the comments below of this video. Let us know what your plans are, what you want to do. You guys are being incredible with the super chats. Nick Pavi says, thank you for all your effort, Austin team. Enjoy the Lego. I think my little man here is, after tonight, going to have reached his quota.
Yeah.
He's saving up for a Lego Boost, which is a robot. And what does it do? Tell him what it does.
There's like all this other stuff that he can go off like he has sunglasses.
Yeah.
Turn into 5 different models.
It's pretty cool because he can program it. We want him to learn a little bit. It's robotics. And so he's homeschooled, so he's going to be able to learn about robotics and programming. I keep telling him, with the way automation is going, you learn robotics, you learn to program, you'll be able to make money in 10 years. A lot of people are going to be out of work, but I think the robotics guys are going to be okay.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, guys. These super chats tonight have been incredible. We really thank you for the support. And we're doing this full time now. And the support we're getting from you guys by becoming a Homesteady Pioneer, by doing the super chats, just the way, if you support us through shopping through our Amsteady link, that's if you're going to shop at Amazon, just type in Amsteady, or even just sharing our show. If you can't afford to support us with money, but you can share our show with somebody, it means a lot, because this is now my full-time job, and with your support, we can keep doing this. So I really am thankful to everybody for all your support. And somebody was asking us earlier, I saw in the chat box, they're asking what a super chat is. So I do, if I've said thank you for the super chats, there's a little $sign in the chat box. If you click on that, you can donate $1, you can donate whatever you'd like, and it helps us do this show, and we're really grateful for that. So that's what a super chat is, if you were wondering. So now it's time for our question of the week, and then we're going to get to your guys' questions. I did notice there were some good questions in the chat box. Just tag us at Homesteady when you ask your question, so it's easy for me to find them. There was a good question on goats somewhere, so I'll double back and check that. But tag at Homesteady and feel free to ask that question so it's easier for me to find. So the question of the week came from Facebook. Gary on Facebook asks, feeder pigs. Does corn and tons of food/garden scraps meet nutritional needs, or do you have to buy feed from the store? So Gary, I shot Gary an answer back quickly, but I told him to join us for the show tonight to see the full answer. Gary, right out the gate, I said no. You can't just feed corn and garden scraps to get a pig's nutritional needs met. Now, before people fire off in the chat box, whoa, this guy's crazy. The feeder, if you're raising feeder pigs, like to sell like we do, and you got a bunch of these pigs, and you're just going to give them corn kernels and then lots of whatever you're coming out of your, lots of whatever's coming out of your kitchen, that's not going to be a good way to get them to market weight. And that's not going to be a good way to meet their nutritional needs. You're not going to get really nice full pigs. This year we raised the best pigs, the fattest pigs we've ever raised. We bought a locally milled feed. It's raised locally. They grind it into a fine powder, and so it's very digestible for the pigs. It's okay. And it's got all the nutrients they need, all the additives they need. It's really a great quality feed. And these pigs grew to 300. They were 300 pounds plus each. They were huge. which was the best pigs we've raised. That was hanging weight, 300 pounds hanging weight. So that's how you get a really nice feeder pig. Now, Gary, if you're thinking about raising one pig for your family and you want to give table scraps, you know, if you have a lot of table scraps, a lot of garden scraps, some corn, and you don't want to buy feed for that, you could go that route. Your pig's not going to grow as fast. It's not going to grow as well as those 300-pound pigs did. If you think about it, pigs are not ruminants. They're herbivores like we are. They have a very similar stomach to humans. So if all you ate was a bunch of, scrap lettuce or, the ends of carrots, you're not going to get real big and strong. But now here's where the but comes in. Let's say you have a homestead, kind of like ours, and you have a cow who's giving you a gallon or two of milk a day. Maybe you have some cheese. You're growing maybe a market garden. You have maybe lots and lots of veggies that are going bad. In that case, you probably could get 1 or 2 pigs for your family grown. That's what a lot of old timers did. If especially if you have a cow. If you have a cow, you're totally all set because you can give 1 pig or 2 pigs the extra milk. If you're making cheese, give it the extra, the whey when you're done. That's a high protein supplement. In that circumstance, you'd be good to go. So Gary, if your goal is to sell pigs for market and you're looking for big fat pigs by the pound and you're doing a bunch of them, I do not suggest you go with the whole garden scrap thing. Get a good quality feed. Get those pigs big and fat. But if you're just raising them for your family and you have a homestead that produces a lot and you got a lot of extra milk and cheese and dairy and maybe some hay, well, in that case, you're probably good to go. You can raise 1 or 2 yourself. A lot of older homesteads did that. It was part of the whole process. When we first bought pigs, the farmer that we bought them from said, now it's time to get a cow because it's a great way to, raise a pig. Raising them on milk is awesome. My pup's back here moaning at me. You want to say hi? There he is. Can you guys see him? Nah. Too hard. He's trying to say hello. Can they see him on that shot, bud?
Let's see.
Yeah. See the pup. Where you at? There he is. There he is. Say hi, buddy. You see him? Hey, over here. Over here. Say hi. I'm mainly showing you guys that so you know it's not my stomach rumbling. All right. So let's close out the show today with answering a few more of your questions. I see a couple tagged at the bottom here. Our pastured farm wants to know, can you have just 1 pig or will it get depressed with just 1 like goats? You should have at least 2 pigs, guys. Pretty much most animals on the farm, it's always nicer to have 2. Even our cow, we had her just by herself for a couple months because she was pregnant. But for the most part, you're always going to have a happier animal when there's 2. The pig farmer that we buy our pigs from wouldn't sell me just 1. He says, no, you got to buy 2. And this guy's been doing it for decades. It's what he does, is sell pigs. What breed do I suggest for meat? Our pastured farm wants to know. So we suggest, first and foremost, whatever pigs you can get locally that are good quality from a good quality breeder. And I say breeder, I mean like a good quality pig farmer. I don't know if you call them breeders. The point is, you want to find somebody who is really good at what they do. Not someone on Craigslist who's just trying to burn off a couple extra piglets, but someone who really every year does this. They got a list of people that, every year come back for more. If you do that, my son's getting, there we go. If you do that, it really doesn't matter the breed that you pick because that person's going to raise good quality pigs. That's the most important thing, hands down, is a good source because they'll give you healthy piglets, and healthy piglets will get big and fat much quicker and much easier. A lot of times I see people who buy these little, they look like guinea pigs. Like they're so little and small, runt piglets, because people are just trying to get rid of them because they had too many and they don't really do this. They're just trying it one time. And those pigs are stunted. It'll take you twice as long, twice as much feed to get. 2. So long story short, find a good source, find a good pig farmer who's willing, if you're in our area, Connecticut, Tom Dexter is the guy, and email me, I'll give you his info. But if you're not near us, sorry, got to find somebody, but look for a good quality source. Now, if you can get picky, we like the Landrace Cross. A Yorkshire Landrace Cross is a longer, they're the commercial style pink pig. They're a little bit longer, so you get more pork chops per pig. I have raised Berkshires. I have raised Tamworths. I have raised Hampshires. And then every year at the fair, I go and I check out the other breeds. And the whole commercial breed is bad business. With pig, it's baloney. Our pigs are outside. They love rooting around in the dirt. They love eating whatever grass is out there, whatever apples fall from the trees. They have a great life. And they grow big, fat, beautiful, and fast. So if you want to raise a, heritage breed for the sake of keeping the heritage breeds alive, that's cool. But if you want to grow a big, fat pig that's delicious, flavor-wise, there's no difference. It's all in the quality of feed and how you raise them. There's no difference in breed. I've tried them all. I have never tasted any difference. You'd have to be a pig sommelier. That's the word, right? All right, let's get to another question. There was a good goat question. I'm going to go back and find here. Let's see here. Crystal has a good video on goats. Let's see. I recommend getting dairy goats first before dairy cow. Okay, Crystal wanted to know, would I recommend dairy goats before a dairy cow? Crystal, great question. Someday we will do a whole podcast on this question. I hope you're still watching, Crystal. Let me know if you are in the chat box, because I hope you didn't miss this, because it's a really good question. No, I do not recommend you get dairy goats first. If you're serious about doing dairy on your homestead, that means you have to milk every day, more or less. We'll talk about that in a second. But you need a rhythm. You need to be ready. Not just because of dead goats. There we go. If you're serious about the dairy thing and you're going to be there regularly and you're going to take care of the daily chores and bring the milk in and then turn it into things, you will do so much better. Can you not do the dead goat anymore, bud? No more dead goats. You will do so much better with a dairy cow. They're easier animals to handle. They're easier animals to fence and care for. They respect the routine. They respect your fences. They're so much better than goats. Goats are a ton of work. They're mischievous. They get into everything. They break out. They try to kill themselves at every turn. Goats are so much work. And I've owned almost 20 goats in my life. I didn't just have one bad goat. I had almost 20 goats. In the video we talk about owning, I think it's 19 or 18 was the number. A cow is just an easier animal, and the quality of the product, a cow is going to give you, especially if you get like what we did, a Jersey, you're going to get cream. Goats don't give cream. Their milk is naturally homogenized. So you're going to go through all this work dealing with this horrible animal. I'm really hard on goats, guys. Dealing with this ridiculous animal that is going to then give you milk that you can't turn into butter, and you can't turn into ice cream, and you can't turn into all those amazing things that a homestead dairy should be able to do. You'll be able to make goat cheese, and you'll have goat's milk. But a lot of times goat's milk tastes not as good as cow milk. And I've had good goat's milk. We had one goat that gave amazing quality tasting milk. But a lot of times it tastes really not that good. So if you're serious about doing the dairy, go to the cow. Cow's going to be more expensive. You're going to need more infrastructure to handle her. But if you're serious about doing the dairy, then do that. Now, if you just want to have a hobby, if you just want to make some soap and maybe try some milk and you're not really sure if you're going to be that dedicated, and let's have the baby, but I like going on vacation a lot too, and maybe I'm not sure if I'm going to milk the entire year, but I like having something out there to care for and work with. If you just want a pet with benefits, that's where the goat's perfect. If you just want to have some fun, maybe get your kids to learn where milk comes from, make some chèvre, go for the goat. Especially if you want to save money, because it's going to be cheaper, and if you're a little intimidated by handling such a large animal. But if you're serious about the dairy. We're back there. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. If you're serious about the dairy, then go right for the cow. Totally. No question. Now that we've had both, I can see it was a mistake. We almost gave up on this altogether when we were doing the goat thing. So the dog's trying to podcast with us. What are you doing? All right. Let's see. One more question before we got to go here, guys. Let's see. Guys, White House on the Hill is here. They're another YouTube channel that is firing off some really cool homestead content. They asked us, do we do anything new on the homestead next year? Go check out White House on the Hill, guys. You'll like their stuff. They got some really good videos. And one of these days we'll get them on the podcast. Anything different next year? I don't actually know. We haven't really sat down and planned, which is what we're intending to do in the next upcoming months. I don't think we're going to do much new this year. I think we're going to just double down on what we're doing and do a better job at what we're doing, especially with the dairy thing. Get the pup to sit in his place here. Come on, pup. Place. Over here. Place. Sit. We got to get a pup cam over there. So I don't think we're gonna do anything new, but stay tuned, right? That's the fun. You never know. Might change our mind. Four Horns Farms. I'm new to raising animals. Should I get a permanent fence or an electric net like Premier One? What animals, Four Horns? Answer that question. I'm gonna answer John Fisher's question. Chickens. Can we have 4 hens? Is it a bit better to get one breed? We can have 4 hens, one breed, or okay to get multiples. Yeah, guys, go for multiples. It's a little fun to mix it up, get different color eggs. The breed thing doesn't bother. They mix just fine. So go for that. And finally, Four Horns Farms. Should I get permanent fence or electric net like Premier One? Without knowing what animals you're fencing in the chat box here, I don't see an answer yet. Without knowing what animals it is, it's always good to have some permanent. You need a good permanent run. You, sit. But if you like the Premier stuff, especially to, save a little bit on, what you're doing, have a permanent run and then use electric to supplement it. You always need a good hard permanent run. So stick with that. All right, guys. Well, thanks. That covers all the questions. Thank you for joining us. And thank you so much for your huge support with the Super Chats, guys. That was nuts tonight. So I think my son here has probably reached his quota for what he was saving for, the Lego Boost. I think Grandma helped out a little bit with that, too. Yeah. But thank you, everyone, for joining us and for watching the show tonight. And next week, I think we're going to start shifting the show to a little bit later because it seems more people can join us for an evening show than for the morning show. So if you enjoyed this week, look out for next week. We'll be probably doing this maybe even a little bit later. But somebody asked, is there any way to be notified about these shows other than YouTube? Here's the thing, guys. YouTube thinks they know better than you what you want to watch. So they don't tell you everything that's on. They don't send you all the videos. So if you want your control back, don't listen to YouTube. Go to thisishomesteady.com. On the front page, there's a button. Click it. Join us. Signs you up to our email list. Every Friday, I send out an email. It gives everything we've done in the week, all our videos, all our podcasts, and it tells you what time we're going to be doing our live show, which does change from time to time. So head on over to This Is Homesteady and click on Join Us. You'll be on the email list. You'll get everything we ever put out there. Take the power back from YouTube. Tell them that, they don't know better than you do what you want to watch. And that's the best way to be notified about our live shows. So thank you for joining, guys. Next week, we're going to talk about our project, fixing up our creepy basement, making it a fun kids place. We also have a good video coming out probably tomorrow about aging meat in a refrigerator. So stay tuned for that. You'll get all this if you sign up to that email list. Thanks for joining us for the live show, and we'll see you guys next Friday for our Farm Friday show. Adios. Go and spam.